Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And before we get started with this week's news, I want to let everybody know that tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to be releasing our interview with producer Sean Bevan. Now, if you guys don't know who he is, he's worked with a bunch of artists. He's produced Nine Inch Nails records, he's produced Marilyn Manson, and of course he worked with Guns N' Roses from 1998 to 2000. So he worked closely with Axl Rose for 2 years. We sat down with Sean a couple weeks ago and talked with him for about an hour and a half, and he had some great stories to share, and I highly recommend you guys check out our interview tomorrow morning on our channel. We also filmed another major interview this past weekend. I can't really say who it is yet, but you guys will find out soon enough. But if you guys are our patrons, you guys will get the interview first, and then we've also got some other big interviews in the coming weeks, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. So I also want to give a shout out to rockerrags.com. We're doing a special promo code with those guys, so if you guys go to their website, which I've linked to down below, use the promo code AXLDuff, one word. You'll get 15% off your order. So I want to thank Rocker Rags for teaming up with us. And let's get started with this week's news. So Dizzy Reed was in Australia this past week, and of course he's over there promoting his newly released album, which came out called Rock and Roll Ain't Easy. It's his first solo album, and he may be doing more solo records in the future. But he was asked the question about Guns N' Roses putting out new music. So he said that he doesn't know anything about a new Guns N' Roses record. He said he's currently on call if anything happens. And he said he hasn't heard any talk from any of the members of Guns N' Roses about new music. However, he did say that he's usually the last person to know anything in Guns N' Roses. He also went on to say he didn't want to spend a lot of money to mix his record he's currently promoting. He also said he was in Australia because it makes sense for him to launch his record there because Golden Robot Records, which is the record label putting out his album, is located in Australia. He also said he's got a lot of unfinished songs that he may release on a second solo album, but is currently focused on his first solo album. And so if you guys missed it, Dizzy also appeared on Australian television this past week. I've linked to the video down below if you guys want to see the whole interview, and I've posted a couple other radio interviews he's done as well while he's over in Australia, so make sure you guys check those out. So Dizzy gave another interview to a publication called The Rock Pit, and he was asked about Axl, and he basically said that Axl's a really hard worker, and he basically is one of the hardest working people that he's ever learned from. He also went on to talk about Axl fronting AC/DC, thinking he did a great job, and he said it was amazing, and it was just as cool when Angus Young sat in with Guns N' Roses when they were playing a bunch of dates across Europe this past summer. So turning now to Adler's Appetite. So we talked last week, they're going to be playing a gig on May 10th at the Whiskey A Go Go, and it was announced this week that Slash's son's band, Classless Act, will be the opening band for that show. So one can probably assume that Slash will be in attendance, and maybe Duff and maybe Perla will be in attendance as well. So that should be a really good show to go see. It was announced on their Instagram page this past weekend. And I also think that, I guess, Classless Act announced a couple months back that they were looking for a singer, so I'm assuming they've probably found a new frontman. So we also had an interview with legendary rock photographer Robert Knight. So he talked with Guitar World, and he discussed, of all the artists he's covered, which has been a lot, he's worked with Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Slash. He was asked about which artist stands out the most for him, and he said anything I did back in the day with Hendrix, Beck, or Steve was amazing. Jeff Beck is one of the greatest guitar players. I've also worked with a lot of blues guys. Albert Collins was a friend who I thought was incredible, and there wouldn't be a Jimi Hendrix or Jeff Beck if it wasn't for guys like Collins or Buddy Guy. But to answer your question, it's probably when I worked with Slash. I shot a lot of stuff around the Velvet Revolver and Conspirators period. He's got such an original sound. You could even put his shadow up on a wall and people would immediately know who it is. There's something special about that guy for sure. So this is one of the shots that he's taken of Slash in the past. Maybe you guys have seen it, maybe you guys haven't. Turning now to Duff news. So if you guys watched my news video from last week, you would know that the members of Guns N' Roses were in Tula, Mexico, celebrating their manager Fernando's wedding. So Duff was there, Axl was supposedly there, Dizzy Reed was supposedly there, Del James was there, as was Frank, and Duff McKagan actually tweeted out this week congratulating the newly married couple, and it kind of reminds me of some of the Guns N' Roses lithographs that they've been putting out on the Not in This Lifetime tour. So it was announced last week that the supergroup Hollywood Vampires would be touring the UK this upcoming summer, and what was strange in their announcement was they only talked about Joe Perry, They talked about Johnny Depp and Alice Cooper being part of the band, but there was no mention of Matt Sorum, who's played with the Hollywood Vampires and even toured with them. And then it was revealed that Matt Sorum would not be joining Hollywood Vampires on their summer tour. So on Twitter, Sorum took to the social media platform and said, "At press time, I will not be touring with Hollywood Vampires this summer." And he's basically focusing on a new Kings of Chaos record and other exciting ventures. So for those of you who don't follow the blog or maybe missed it, I actually found this online. So apparently Matt Sorum's wedding video is online. So it looks like he got married in Palm Springs, and you can actually see Duff as one of his groomsmen there on the right-hand side. So if you guys want to see the wedding video, it's really beautifully shot. I've linked to it down below. So speaking of Europe, it was rumored by some people that Guns N' Roses would make a return to Ireland as part of their summer tour. Some people were messaging me saying, I think they're going to play Slane this coming year, but it's official, no bands or concerts are going to be playing Slane Castle this year. So it's a big disappointment to a lot of Irish fans. If you guys remember, they opened up their Europe tour last year at Slane Castle, and I think they opened up their 1992 Use Your Illusion Europe tour at Slane Castle as well. But the people who run Slane Castle grounds did announce that they're working on several concerts for the following year in 2019. So who knows, maybe Guns N' Roses will show up a year later. So we've got some Myles Kennedy news. So he announced this past week a U.S. tour date. So we know he was already going to go to South Africa, and he was going to be doing some tour dates across the U.K. But throughout the month of May, he's going to be doing tour dates all across the U.S. And if you guys want to get tickets, as well as see some meet and greet packages, you can go to MylesKennedy.com. So keep in mind, his solo album, Year of the Tiger, comes out March 9th. He also released a new song from the album called Devil on the Wall. So he put up an official lyric video earlier this week on February 16th. If you guys want to check it out, I've linked to it below. So Myles Kennedy also sat down with Loudwire to answer questions from fans about his upcoming solo album. He also answered questions about Slash and a possible new Slash record, as well as Alter Bridge. So one of the questions was whether we would see a new Slash record soon, to which he responded, "It remains to be seen. We'll see how everyone's schedule works out, but obviously he's doing pretty awesome," referring to Slash. Also, Slash's bandmate Todd Kerns did an interview this week on a really great podcast you guys should check out called Talking Metal, where he talked about everything from a new Conspirators record to working with Dizzy Reed and Hookers and Blow. And he basically said that he's in constant contact with Slash and the other guys from the Conspirators. Todd said he feels that the band will reconvene when the time is right, and he didn't go any further into when we could expect a new album from Slash and Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators. Todd said that he has seen Guns N' Roses reform, from such a close vantage point being in Slash's world, and that it's pretty awesome to be that up close with the band. He said he never saw Guns N' Roses live before the Not in This Lifetime tour, since he always had gigs the same nights when Guns N' Roses were playing in his town. He also said that Slash wisely chose to go back to Guns N' Roses, and he did it for the fans and not money. He called Guns N' Roses one of the last great reunions that's going to happen. He thought the door might be open for Steven and Izzy to rejoin, but he's not privy to any inside info. Todd did reveal that he's seen Guns N' Roses on the Not in This Lifetime tour about 4 or 5 times. He also talked a bit about Dizzy Reed, and he said he's known Dizzy Reed for years and played with him long before he joined the Conspirators. He said he'll be doing some more stuff with Dizzy Reed's band, Hookers and Blow, in the future. And Todd talked about playing with comedian Bill Murray for a benefit show where Slash was a guest, as well as Sammy Hagar, Kip Winger, Alice Cooper, Matt Sorum, and Billy Duffy. He said Bill Murray showed up and basically hosted the whole night. He said Bill Murray was a really cool guy, and Todd said he's a massive fan. And then we also got an interview with another member of the Conspirators, Frank Sidoris. So he was recently interviewed on a podcast about working with Slash, how he kind of hooked up with Slash, as well as his gear that he uses. So if you guys want to listen to that, I've linked to it down below. But for those of you guys who don't know, Frank typically doesn't go into the studio to record with Slash and the Conspirators. As far as I understand, Slash records all the rhythm guitar himself, but Frank tours with Slash. And if you guys don't know, Frank actually played with the pop group The Cab, who maybe you guys have heard of, maybe you haven't. They have some hit songs out there, and you can see them on YouTube. So that's kind of how Frank got noticed as far as, I guess, getting into Slash's band. So turning now to your guys' favorite guitar player before Slash is DJ Ashba. So the legendary guitar player has announced what his next musical endeavor is going to be. There were some rumors that maybe he would get back with Guns N' Roses and produce their next album or their next rumored album. So he announced on Facebook that he will be joining forces with 6am vocalist James Michael, and they're going to be starting a new project or band called PYROMANTIC. So they announced their collaboration via Facebook live chat earlier this week. Actually, it was last Saturday, February 10th. And speaking about the musical direction and lyrical direction of Pyromantic, Michael said lyrically it's very deep, but it's very different from 6 a.m. in the sense that I think we are choosing different subject matter to talk about. Sonically speaking, it's heavy as F, but you get all these really, really pop melodies. So all I can say is if you're going to dig it, it's some of the most special stuff I've heard. We've been in the business a long time and we're very excited about that. The legendary Ashba added, when we sat down to do Pyromantic, the one big thing we said to ourselves is let's create something so new and fresh and create a sound for Pyromantic. So he said it's a very distinct sound. He said what we went after is a great blend of dance, rock, and pop, and you kind of throw it in a blender, and I would say that's pretty much what Pyromantic sounds like. So as we get more information, guys, I will let you guys know because I know there's a lot of DJ Ashba fans on my channel. So that does it for this week's news video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and you guys will get access to our hour-and-a-half long interview with Sean Bevan. Really want to thank Sean for coming on. It was a really great chat and honestly one of my favorite interviews we've done to date, and we've got a bunch of other big interviews coming in the coming weeks. So make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy this video, and be sure to share it. And you guys can also hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, because let's face it, you're probably here because you love Guns N' Roses as much as we do. And you guys can also go support our channel on Patreon if you want to see us keep making videos. The link to the Patreon page is down below, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at the links below as well. Take care.